Welcome to Tea Talks, where young adult stories and church experience comes together to a perfect blend of insight to inspire us. So grab a cup of tea, sit down, relax, and enjoy as we spill the tea. I have with me today Daniel. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I am so happy you accepted to be part of this video series, and I just can't wait to get to know you a little more. So why don't you start telling us who you are?
Thank you for having me here at Tea Talks. So I'm Daniel. You can call me Danny or Daniel, whichever one works. I'm a father, I'm a husband, brother, uncle, all the above, kind of a little bit of everything. I work, I like to spend a lot of time with my family, like helping out my community, do a lot of community service. I like being active, I'm a person that is very adventurous. So, like to spend time outside in the nature, and eat a lot of food. So, yeah.
We actually have a lot in common. I also love food.
Okay, yeah, that's always good. That's a great point there.
Have you ever had any experience where you were actually involved in decision-making process of your church community? And how did that affect your life? How did that impact you?
Yeah, great question, Pastor Chris. So I grew up in a Spanish church back in the day, before I moved to Charlotte. And, that's where to get a little background, I actually was born and grew into the church in general, but I did help out a lot in certain decisions where I had certain influence over the young folks, and as well as the older folks. But it made me feel like I was a part of the community, like the church community. It also made me feel like I was included. So not just that, but it puts a special role in your position where you're capable of doing something great for your family, for the church, and the community. So there was many roles. I don't know if you want to hear them all, but some of them were like, teaching Sabbath school. We were, director of medical cadets, which was a form of community service as well. We did a lot of like red alert, first aid, natural disaster help, things like that.
No, just the fact that you had roles, it's something that for me, I am so happy about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. here as well. So here in Charlotte, we have some roles as well. I don't know if you want me to go in detail with those.
Basically what we'd love to hear about it is, first of all, the whole conversations from this book that's called Growing Young, where a research was done to understand the churches that are thriving with young adults, what are they doing? And one of the main things is that one of the topics that they realized, the characteristic of a church was prioritizing young people.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that doesn't happen everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to talk to young people. I wanted to hear from you guys, even though I'm young too, okay?
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah. Hey, no, we're all, I like that you said that because people think we just get old at a certain age, but we have 120 years to live, right?
There you go.
So
we're
all young.
There you go. And one of the things is a lot of the young people complain that they don't give, they are not giving a space.
Yeah.
They are not putting priorities. So hearing that you were in a church experience where they allowed you to have these roles, this is absolutely amazing. How this allowing you to have these roles, how did that affect your spiritual life?
It definitely brought me closer to God. You're working for God, right? I think everything that we do, we kind of do it for the glory of God, like we say. And I want to say it puts you in a position where you need to be praying, right? Because the moment you start working more and more for God, God opens up your mind, your heart, your just growing in general. And so you want to be able to connect more with God. So I think in the way that it put me in a good effect was you get closer with God, right? It opens doors for you. And so you want to continue reaching for that connection.
It makes you want it to get better, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because once you have that responsibility, you're like, wow, I need to teach a Sabbath school, now I need to learn.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Yeah. For example, like I do community service a lot, even here in Charlotte. And, I find myself when we're helping people out, that helps me, right? And even from a scientific perspective, when you give to somebody that is more unfortunate, right, you get this little level of dopamine in you, right, where it's like you've really helped somebody out. So God helps you out in many ways and blesses you as you're working for God and helping others.
Isn't that amazing how it works?
The best thing.
I love it. I love it. How do you feel? And you don't have to say just about your church, the one that you go now, but in general, our church.
Yeah.
How do you feel the needs and concerns of young adults are being met?
Great question. I think we need to utilize the youth a lot more, right? I guess you can say I'm young as well, right? I'm about to be 30 years old, but you got to think about other young people, right? When you think about people, back in the 90s and the 80s, you had children preaching on stage, right? You had deacons really young. You had people as young as children helping out in community service, things like that. So when you think about roles in the church, think about young people being put in those positions, I think it's super important to do that, because a lot of the times people take these positions and keep it forever, right? And I think the most important part about growing young and also providing help to the young people is when you give somebody young a position to take, they're going to automatically grow and seek some form of help, right? Not everything is easy in life. So you want to be able to, like, for example, let's say I become 40 years old and I say, you know what, I had enough with this role, right? It's been a long time. Let me go ahead and pass it over to a young guy or a young woman. That person is going to feel special, but I'm also willing to help them because I want them to grow as a leader as well. And so I think that's where it becomes important. We tend to think like, oh, just the older people take care of everything and not the young guys. But it's really that the young guys supposed to be taking care of everything and the old people are supposed to be sitting down, right, and resting or
either
helping.
Sitting down or being a
support,
right? Guidance. Yeah. And actually, with the way that you're saying, we would be obeying what the Bible says, to make disciples, right? Mm-hmm. So every time that you take a position, you should always have some, even when you're not ready to retire yet.
Oh, yeah.
But you can have somebody that will walk alongside with you, because when you are ready, even if it is in 10 years from now, you can pass it on to the next person, right?
Absolutely.
So that is wonderful. Did you have any mentorship? And how was, if you had, how did that help in your personal growth? Yeah,
I mean, I want to say the best mentorship was definitely my father. My father, there's way more mentors other than that, but my father was definitely a huge help, and my mother, both of them. But there were certain things that both your mom can give you that your dad can't, and your father can give you that your mom can't, right? And so they have mentored me so much at home, growing up in church, and also mentoring within the church and life, right? Being a father, being a husband, having specific roles to help out the youth, things like that. We were always taught to be involved, right? Always remember that you're not coming to church for something specific, but you're coming to church for God, right? You never come to, I guess, to the, like when you go to college or when you go to school, you're not going to see just your friends, right? You're also going to get an education, right? It's the same thing with church, right? Us young people, when we go to church to find God and grow. And so that was some of the biggest things that my father told me, that no matter what happens in church, right? Because church is not the perfect place either, Well, no matter what happens in church, you always go because you're going for you and God. And that was one of the things that after I moved to Charlotte, after I got married, had children, I always kept a foundation where it's every Sabbath we go to church, and that's what we do. We go to see God, worship God, learn and grow and help other young people. So I guess circling back, other than that, I had a couple people, couple pastors, couple folks, elders that have really helped me, I guess you can say, mold me to become a better leadership, right? Mm-hmm. Give me a couple pointers, lift me up when I'm down, things like that. That's what we're supposed to have as mentors.
Yes, yes. And having mentors, I think we don't have enough of it. Mm-hmm. And when we do, look at the impact. Today you are a young person who's a leader in your church, and that helps you in your spiritual growth and your personal life. That is absolutely wonderful. Yeah. In what ways have the church family or a specific program supported and influenced both you, like in your faith journey, and with your family?
Repeat the question one more time. I'm sorry. I was a little loaded there. I'm sorry. Just one more time.
How have the church programs have supported and influenced your faith growth and your families?
So when you are next to a lot of like-minded and young folks, right? Mm-hmm. Like you and me, we have a lot in common. We're going to have a lot more in common than somebody that would be like 80 or 90 years old, right? Which nothing wrong with that. You can still
thank you for putting me in the same level as you. I appreciate that.
And so you got to think about that, right? Because a lot of the times people think like, oh, I don't want to go to this church because there's no young people. But the church programs and also the specific how do I say it? The ministries, right? Super important because you're going to be put with a lot of people that are in common with you. Problems, right? Nobody's perfect. So when I'm around programs or ministries that have young folks that are going through things like myself, that gets me closer to God because there are things that I can help them with and there are things that they can help me with. You guys can
relate.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll just put a couple examples, in my church right now, we have a lot of different life groups, and those life groups have a variety of different ages, but things that are going to help you grow in general so that you can help other people's, So I got a lot of friends in church and programs that they're all married and have kids. So how is it important for me to be a better father? How is it important for me to be a better husband? How can I still be a great man and continue to be consistent, right? Because my children are going to grow. I want my children to grow to be the best that they can, same as them, right? The fact of the matter is a lot of people struggle with different problems. And so you want to be around those programs where when that pain or challenge is presented in front of you, that's where your faith grows, Your faith is going to grow when you're completely in this, dark place, when you're feeling lonely, when you're actually going through problems that nobody can see, right? Nobody knows what happens at home, right? But the moment you open up to a group of men, a group of women, a group of couples, group of young folks, right? They're going to say, well, let's pray, right? Or let's talk about it. What can we bring to the table that's going to be solution for you or your family or your problems, right? Everybody has a specific issue. Yep. So you just want to be able to grow with those people, pray together, and have that faith continue to thrive.
I love it.
Yeah.
What would you say to a young person who has not found a church that is supportive and they're struggling?
Oh, man. It's a lot of those. I'm going to go ahead and say prayer is the number one thing. A lot of people put the prayer aside and they think, going straight to the Bible is the answers, which the Bible has all the answers. Not that it's not, but the prayer is going to be your key thing to grow, to guide you. I always say it's the strongest thing. When I say thing, it's because you can't even describe what a prayer is. It's just you connecting with God. Yep. It's your direct source, right? And so you want to be able to have God guide you, have a direct correlation with what your issues are, and say, God, lead me to the right church. And church is not a building, right? A church, by definition in the dictionary, it's an assembly of people. So doesn't need to be a specific building, doesn't need to be, one on the west side, east side, north side, whatever it is. But you want to be able to say, you know what, God, I need a church. I need people that are going to guide me closer to God. I need people that are going to help me to grow as a Christian, right? I need people, and people is church, right? Let's put that together. So that's my best advice is prayer, and also doing an action. Find somebody that's going to help you, because you can't just sit there and pray and say, hey, God, I need a good church, and you not do anything. No, you got to do something about it. You got to take the bus, walk, run, get in your car, go someplace else, go find your answers, and God will be there to provide them for you.
I love the way you put it, because especially in today's society, there is a lot of, and with a lot of reasons, it's not that they're wrong, they're right. There's a lot of reason to be against institution, against church. And one thing that we do have to understand, that this idea that church is man-made, it's not. It was instituted by God.
Oh, yeah.
Man made a mess out of it.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people are against church. Yeah. But when we have the correct view that the church is actually the people, and the reason why God put in our hearts, gave to humanity this idea of assembly together, is because we need it. We need the community, we need the people, we need the support. So I love the way that you put it. Daniel, this was wonderful.
Appreciate it.
It was wonderful spending this time with you and getting to know you a little more. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for you, thank you for participating at Tea Talks. I want to invite you to continue stirring up conversations and embracing the beautiful and the best messiness of life. And until next time.